All right, what's poppin', everybody? This is the Satrix Money School podcast, where we turn complex money ideas into clear, practical terms or lessons that you guys will be utilizing on a daily basis. I'm your host. My name is Karabo Mohol, and each episode, I'll be sitting down with South Africans who have walked the talk, right? Investors, entrepreneurs, creators, who will be sharing their real money decisions, their stories, looking into ultimately what worked, what didn't work, but also what they would have done differently. All right, so today's topic will be budgeting and savings. I'll be joined in studio by Mr. Brent Lindeque, the good things guy. But first and foremost, give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Satrix. Own the market. They're all about making investment smart and simple. And they also understand the complexities of investing, hence why they strive to make the platform easy and simple for you guys. All right, so up next, I'm joined in studio by Brent Lindeque, the all good things guy. All right, awesome. Welcome back, everybody. I'm joined in studio by Mr. Brent Lindeque, the good things guy. Listen, he's known as the good things guy, a media personality, and also South Africa's ambassador for positivity and purpose. Sir, welcome.
It's so great to be on the show, and that was such a great intro. I always wonder when I get like introed, what's it gonna say?
Yeah.
But you got it spot on. That's what I do.
I love the team. The team gives us a huge paragraph on people's intros, and I'm like, no, you know what? Let me just trim it down a bit. So I could have went more.
No, good things guy, ambassador for positivity, and a bit of a media personality. That's perfect. That's exactly what I do. That's who I am.
Listen, I love your energy. We're going to be discussing how to make money work for you. Listen, we're going to be talking about money, and the most important thing, we're going to be talking about budgeting. You know, there was one guy that came on the platform, and he mentioned, you know, budgeting is such a heavy word. A lot of young people, when they hear budgeting, so he spoke about a plan. You just dumbed it down to a plan. Let's say you have 100 Rand. What are you going to do with that 100 Rand? Which is awesome. So, sir, first and foremost, when it comes to financial literacy, what first comes to mind?
What comes to mind is that financial literacy, you got to know what's going on with your own finances, with finances in the world. You got to know what your Rand can buy. You got to understand the power of those $100, that $100 that you have. And I mean, we're leaning towards budgeting today because that's a huge part of financial literacy.
I like that.
Is the plan.
Yeah, I like that. Listen, I ask, you know, every individual that comes on a platform, and I was shocked. We had an amazing, you know, female, Renee Basson. She's with Satrix, and she mentioned, you know, as a white woman, you know, she was also privy from having financial conversations growing up. So we know for sure, as people of color, it wasn't easy for us to talk about money. Let's go back to you growing up, sir. Was it easy for you to speak about money with your parents? Was it something that was always just made available?
So, I mean, the way that I explain it growing up, I didn't have the luxuries that my friends did, right? So like, we didn't have DSTV because DSTV didn't exist yet.
And you felt bad those days.
But we had something called Mnet. It was just one channel. It was one decoder. I think the decoder had two channels on it, 7 and 4. And 4 was Super Sport, and 7 was actually Mnet, the vibe. We didn't have that because my parents couldn't afford that. So if that can make you kind of understand where we were, we're middle class family, but not with extra luxuries. So I guess money was always a conversation because we didn't have enough of us. And at the age of 15, I already understood the importance of money and the idea of if I wanted something, I would have to work for it to get it. So I started working at the age of 15. And my first job was at a Nando's takeaway, Nando's shop, Nando's. And I worked really, really long hours. So I would go to school, I would finish up with school, and then I'd make my way to Nando's, and I was working as a person behind the tills. I was washing floors. I was picking up people's dirty plates and putting them where they needed to go. And we got paid really not much. It wasn't a great salary, but it was a starting point.
I like that.
It was a starting point. And from there, I have had various jobs. I mean, I went from Nando's and then I started working for a bigger restaurant in Alberton, is where I grew up, called Emilio's. And I worked there in the week, so that was like Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. And then on the weekend, I worked for a wedding venue. And at the wedding venue, I realized that's good money.
And you were busy.
I was busy. I was busy, but I understood the value of money, that financial literacy, and I really knew that I wanted things. I wanted things, so I had to work
To get that.
to get them and sort of save and get to a point where I could purchase things for myself.
I like that.
So that was my youth.
I like that. I like that. Listen, beforehand, you spoke about a moment that you went viral, which I really want to know. You spoke about Oprah. You met Oprah.
Some of the kids are going to be like, who is Oprah? Who's
No.
Oprah Winfrey? Oprah Winfrey.
No, but that one is opera, right?
Yeah,
but no,
That's a different one.
not the-
That's a different one. That's a different one.
Listen, sir. So you went viral back in the newspaper days.
Yes,
And obviously, it's very much different to going viral today.
100%. So 11 years ago, there was this online trend that had taken hold of the world. It was the first real sort of like online challenge before TikTok and all the rest. This was the OG. This was the original. The idea started down in Australia, and it was simple: drink as much as you possibly could.
You were
Alcohol.
like, come on.
I was like, that's so stupid. That's so stupid and so easy. Easy. It's easy to drink and have a good time. That's simple. So you had to drink down something, do something silly in the process, and then nominate people to outdo what you had done. I was watching this trend from here in South Africa, and I had two real trains of thought. The first, why would anybody put something so silly online? If you wouldn't put it on the front page of a newspaper, do not put it on your social media, full stop. Because that's where it could land up like I did, right?
Yes.
And the second is, why weren't people using their social media platforms to be kinder, to inspire each other, to help each other through this life? So I got nominated. I decided instead of drinking, I would do a random act of kindness, which I did.
Oh, man.
Filmed that. A colleague that I was working with helped me film that. We put it up online, and it went properly viral.
Yeah.
The next day I woke up and
He says properly viral, not the viral nonsense that he's seen today.
No, well,
he says properly viral.
It's a different world now. Now you could put something up on TikTok and get millions of views, and it can feel viral, and then it's over tomorrow. This went on for weeks. I was on the front page of most newspapers around the world. I was on all the local and international news channels, CNN, BBC, Sky News, all these crazy things. And why did that happen? Well, that one act of kindness had inspired millions of people around the world to not drink, to not do a neck nomination, and rather do a rack nomination, which is a random act of kindness.
What did you really do?
I fed a homeless person. So it's very crazy because it was the first video I'd ever put up, and I could have made that my thing. I could have been like, I'm gonna go help homeless people now and drive around. I've never done it again. So I did that one video. And I went viral, and from that I got given an opportunity on radio, an opportunity on TV, and eventually, a year later, I launched what has become South Africa's top good news site, Good Things Guy.
I like that.
We, as a team, I've got a whole team of journalists who are writing for the publication now. We reach over 30 million South Africans on a monthly basis.
Wow.
Which that's
Wow,
crazy.
man. So from just an opportunity that you did, that opened up so many avenues.
Yeah.
You also had to put yourself in a space where you thought, okay, cool, what can I now do with this opportunity? How can I maximize it?
Yes.
Which you did. And obviously your personality speaks to, what you are currently doing, media personality, which is extraordinary. I've always wondered, were you always like this as a young person?
Yeah, I would think so.
Did your parents never say, hey, let's push him in this direction?
So I guess when you're younger, your parents want the best for you, right? So when I was in that stage of finishing high school and perhaps going to varsity, or because I did eventually go to varsity and then I dropped out and I went back and whatever that is, your parents want you to do something that they believe you're going to be successful in.
Sure.
And playing in the media space, or playing, I don't know, becoming a soccer player or whatever those are, it's like the 1% of the population get really good in those spaces. Sure. Whereas if you can aim towards something that's going to help you further in life, that's what your parents push you towards.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Yeah.
Is I went the business route. I studied marketing. I went that sort of route. But inherently, I was always an overachiever. I was always someone who has this sort of personality.
Yeah.
And I think that pushed me into the direction as to where I needed to go. So yes, I went viral. Yes, I did this act of kindness. But in that, I saw an opportunity. I started Good Things Guy, and a decade later, we've got the publication that is writing the good news, but I've got TV features, I've got radio features, and I'm living in a space where I really feel like I found my purpose. I need to give a massive shout out to my parents for pushing me in the right direction.
Come on.
Cause
Mom, Dad,
if they hadn't given me the basis of the understanding of business, if they hadn't given me that sort of the marketing, the degree, and that, then I would never be here. I didn't have an understanding, and now I do.
I like that. So, Brent, we're going to be speaking about how to make money work for you, right? Come on, it's not really enough for me to have money in my pocket and it just sits there. You're going to find a way to make this thing make more money, right? On the platform, we also spoke about having multiple streams of income to help those pursue, their purpose. First and foremost, you are speaking so much on the Good Things Guy. Good news, you guys are doing so well. What exactly, is the Good Things Guy?
So it started off as just a blog, and the idea was to share one good news story with South Africa and the world every day. It was just me. And it's now has become South Africa's top good news site. If you think of a mainstream media news site that shares really hard news every day, we do the polar opposite.
Wow.
So we find the things that are going to make us proud or happy.
I like that.
Or maybe even laugh a little bit.
So the good news is not primarily just good news when it comes to business, but it has to do with any and everything.
Everything, absolutely everything. And it's crazy because when I started 10 years ago, some days it was really difficult to find those good news stories, not because they didn't exist, but because the hard news was so hard. The news was newsing. And so it was difficult for us to find those good news stories. And now the team and I are publishing up to 20 a day, 20 good news stories. Which is, it's great.
Listen, I believe I'm a good boy. I really am good, Mr. Brent. Just throw me in that thing, just say,
come on!
No, just say, Karabo, this guy, he's good. He's a good boy.
Your story.
Come on, please. Okay, cool. So you are known as the Good Things Guy, but now, how do you now personally define good when it comes to financial habits?
So, what's really difficult in a country like South Africa, where such a huge portion of our population live below the dignity line. They say it's around 90% of South Africa that live below the dignity line. Financial literacy, saving, budgeting, that's not a luxury that everybody has. And majority of South Africans live day to day. So to be in a position where you can save an extra rand or two, it puts you in a totally different bracket. I hope I didn't divert from the question.
No.
But it's,
looking at, obviously, when we look at financial habits, right, it's difficult to be money savvy.
It's tough in this economy.
Exactly. So you being defined as the good guy, the good things guy, how do you then define good in those financial habits in this crazy world?
Well, then it would be if you could save a little bit. If you could make your rand stretch a little bit further, that is a good news story within itself. And it's important. So I'll go back. When I was younger, that's when I started understanding the value of money. But it took hard work in order to get to a point where I could save a little bit of money, where I could, I don't know, get DSTV.
Come on.
It takes a lot to get to that point. And if you can be savvy with your money, then that's a good news story because you can start to get those things that you want.
And obviously, you spoke about, you having to put in the hard work. So obviously, you also learning about budgeting wasn't something that came naturally. You had to put in the work. Did you get help from, obviously, let's say, a background of your family helping you learn the importance on money and budgeting?
I think so. So my mom and my dad are two different, I'm going to call them animals. It's two different animals. My father, my real father, bless him, he passed away many, many years ago. But he had no understanding of money. And he lived far beyond his means. It was unreal to watch as I got older to see how he was trying to keep up with the Joneses or like buy stuff that he couldn't afford or whatever that is. Whereas my mother has, I think perhaps because she worked as an accountant, she was more savvy with her money. And I think from watching her and seeing how she worked with money, it gave me a better understanding of what I could achieve and what I had to do. So the question that you asked, did I get it from my peers? Not from my dad so much, or maybe the lesson of watching him did give me a bit of insight.
I don't want to go that route.
Whereas with my mom, I realized the importance of budgeting, of saving, of trying to make good financial decisions.
Okay, cool. So can you also speak about of a time, right, when you understood more on budgeting and savings, and maybe a situation that helped you go through that, that helped also open up a new opportunity in that perspective?
So when I moved into my first place, I moved out when I was relatively young, but when I moved into my first place, I had to go get a credit card. It was almost like a loan from the bank, because I needed to buy myself a bed, and I needed to buy a little bit of furniture for my house that I was sharing with a housemate. And then, it was my first real job where I was earning what you would call an okay salary, a good salary for my age bracket. But I had to budget every month to make sure that I could pay off that loan. That I'd bought a loan for a bed. Like, that's what I'd got. It's just unreal to think. And then I had to pay it off. And at the same time, you also want to go drinking with your friends on the weekend. You want to meet them for dinner. But at the end of the month, those last 2 weeks of the month, stay at home. You ain't gonna get to go out because you've got responsibilities. And if you cannot pay for those responsibilities at the end of the month, it's going to be more problematic in the long run.
I like that. On this platform, as much as you speak of investing and money, a lot of them speak about, understanding, responsibility, and discipline, right?
Yes.
A lot of them don't have discipline when it comes to, investing or even handling money, and that you learn that through the speakers. You speak a lot about enjoying life, right? But now when we talk about saving, I'm going to keep this money away. But now, if I want to enjoy life, how do I balance enjoying life, experiencing life, but also now learning how to save?
So I think saving is one of the most incredible habits that you can cultivate. And if you are able to, at the end of the month, go, I'm actually not going to go out this week. I'm not going to buy those coffees. I'm not going to do whatever it is where you feel your money is being spent badly. If you're able to get through that, and then you start to see your savings grow. You start to see, perhaps, if you've taken your savings and you've put it in a really lekker account that's maybe earning good interest, when you start to reap the rewards, when you see that, that makes it all worthwhile.
I like that.
Then it becomes a different story.
I like that. And also, in your own experience, Mr. Brent, if someone wants to learn how to save or budget better today, what are some of the most smallest or minute things that they can do today to help them better?
So I think the first thing is doing it. I think that sometimes...
Start where you are.
Well, sometimes we overthink things. Sometimes we'll look at a challenge, or we'll look at, for me, like with the good news, where we have people emailing us going, we need help to I don't know, create a backer buddy for whatever fund to help us get through this. Some people feel like they need, it's too big. It's too much of a big idea. I want to save 10,000 Rand. How am I going to get there? Just start.
I like that, because also, coming from a background of, not really understanding money, when I hear about investing and budgeting, I'm oftentimes thinking that's for white people. It's for people with, big companies. But then we hear that you start with the little that you have.
You start with what you have, that little that you have. And when you do, you will start to see the rewards really quickly. Absolutely.
So now, we mentioned that you are the ambassador of South Africa when it comes to positivity and purpose.
Yes.
When we speak about positivity, right, how then is it important for someone to have a renewal mindset to help them when it comes to matters of money?
Positivity and the way you see the world is one of the most important things when it comes to your perspective, right? Nelson Mandela said he wishes that we all will lead our decisions with our hopes and not our fears. So that, a positive mindset, if you can cultivate that yourself, and when it comes to saving and finances, it starts to seep into every part of your world. I've been in this game
Wow.
now for 11 years. And when I tell you the way that I see the world has changed because of the things that I surround myself in, the things that I consume, the stories I read, that filters into every facet of my life. And that could only mean, if you've got a positive mindset, it can only mean that your finances can be positive as well.
Wow.
Because it will feed into that.
I like that. And you know, when you speak about matters of money, there's a whole lot of emotions to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, how it's not really as easy as you probably make it sound to say you got to be positive. When you're dealing with money and you're so emotional, and it makes you sometimes make bad decisions when it comes to investing or even saving and budgeting for your money, how is it important, Mr. Brent, to work on self first, to understand who you are, be grounded before you can then be able to handle money?
So I can only go back to when I was younger, because that was the most incredibly tough time for me when trying to make those decisions and not understanding myself completely or not understanding where I could go in life. And I think when, exactly what you said, understanding yourself more, it does help towards working towards those goals of saving, of budgeting. It's tough. It's tough. It's not, I don't want to make it sound easy. It is tough.
It's a process, it's a journey.
But again, I said action earlier on. When you start to take those small steps, those small steps very quickly become bigger steps. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, you're paying that loan off, that debt off. You're starting to save a little bit. You're budgeting better. And at the end of the year, when you want to go on December holidays, you have that cash to do it.
Come on.
Or if there's something that requires some sort of emergency fund, you've got that money aside. You just got to start small.
I like
Start
that, like that. You mentioned that you are a groot man. You've been in the game for 11 years.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen? And also, how can you, provide guidance to avoid some of these mistakes when it comes to budgeting and saving?
Yeah. So I guess bad investments could be a big mistake, but also you're never going to know if an investment is good or bad. You got to do what your intuition tells you to do. I think that would be important. And then I'm going back again to what I said earlier on, but thinking that something is bigger than, or a bigger concept that perhaps you can't achieve. I may have been scared to start saving or just do it. Like that's the easiest way to get to where you want to go.
And now, when we speak about, listen, I want to somehow please myself. Yes, I want to save, but when we talk about in the world of, instant gratification and pressure, how then can one stay grounded, especially looking at the long-term goals of saving?
I think balance and rewarding yourself. So we talk about wanting to get to that goal at the end of the year, but if you're, or whatever your terms are, I'm saying the end of the year because we're nearly there now.
Yes.
But if you're going to be really sad for 11 months of the year to only have a happy moment, it doesn't, the balance is not right? So you got to reward yourself along the way. You gotta go for a dinner if that's going to make you happy, or drinks with friends, or to the movies, or buy the PlayStation game, or buy the shoes, or whatever's going to get you to that point. You have to reward yourself along the way. I think that and don't overspend. So don't break the bank. But keep yourself grounded and have that balance by rewarding yourself along the way.
Mr. Brent, first and foremost, when we begin to conclude, I want you to look into the camera and let's speak a little bit about, why is it important for us to understand money first and foremost before we delve into the career paths that we are at?
That camera over there?
Yes.
That one over there. So I think the importance to understanding money is understanding that if you want something, you're going to have to work hard to get there. But at the same time, you're going to have to save, you're going to have to budget. Some months or some weeks, you're going to have to not spend money on luxuries or things that are going to feel like you're rewarding yourself, because you got to know that there's an ultimate goal that you're working towards. And I think that's important, is having that goal in mind and then doing everything in your power to achieve that goal.
Mr. Brent Lindeque, sir, Thank you so much for stepping into studio and
Thank you.
not just sharing positivity, but sharing the wisdom on the importance on saving and budgeting. It's really, really a breath of fresh air to have somebody like you in this world.
Thank you for having me. What a great show. Thank you so much.
All right, so that's Mr. Brent Lindeque, the good things guy. Listen, he brought the good things on this platform, richly talking about the importance of financial literacy and understanding how to make money work for you. That's Mr. Brent Lindeque. I hope you guys enjoyed the segment today. See you guys soon.
In a world where investments were expensive and out of reach for most, Satrix followed the rhythm of its own drumbeat. In the year 2000, Satrix introduced index tracking to South Africa. Since then, we have made investing accessible to everyone. Through low fees and no minimum investments, we give all South Africans the chance to own the market. Our range of investment products offer diverse access to strategies and asset classes across local and international markets for any stage of your life. We've kept in tempo with our community, winning the Salter People's Choice Award for the last 7 consecutive years. Our cost-effective and award-winning products offer value to individuals and institutions alike. Satrix has managed index tracking funds for institutional clients since 2000. From ETFs and unit trusts to life-pooled and segregated portfolios, to meet the different needs of clients, pension fund members, and organizations. By driving the global cadence of indexation, our bespoke solutions have contributed to Satrix holding the largest market share in the South African ETF industry. And we're expanding our African footprint. At Satrix, indexation is anything but passive. We stand proudly as the drumbeat of possibility. Satrix. Own the market.
All right, awesome. Welcome back, everybody. I'm joined right here in studio. I've got Lauren all the way from Satrix. We're going to be speaking about building a budget with investing goals or investment goals. Lauren, how are you?
I'm good, and you, Karabo?
I'm good. Welcome back. First and foremost, how is Cape Town?
It's good today. We're getting some sun. Still struggling with the wind, but it's getting better. We're getting some sun.
I can see you look amazing with that yellow number popping.
Thank
Lauren,
you.
we had an amazing conversation the first time you were on the platform. Let's speak a little bit about your experience on that particular conversation that we had.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sparked some thoughts for me, going back to when I started out and, kind of the challenges I had and the goals that I achieved or the wins that I had. And it was great being able to just reassess as well for myself. What does financial discipline mean? What does financial literacy mean? And for the future of our country and the future children who are going to be investing, I think it was an important conversation for me too.
I like that. I'm also just want to share this, that, I found this experience, second to none. You really begin to understand that money is complex, and also what to do with the little or the large amount of sum that you have. There's endless opportunities that you can actually do with the income that you have. But for me to be in a space where I speak to such extraordinary experts has, sometimes left me puzzled, which, this is what it's all about. It's about us being fed with knowledge and understanding that as much as we can be seeking the purpose that we have, but understanding with the little that we receive, there's so much that we can do with that. So this platform is really, really extraordinary, which is the Satrix Money School podcast. All right, so Lauren, we're going to be talking about, building, a budget with investing goals, right? Investment goals. But first and foremost, I had this conversation with an individual on the platform, which was really amazing. He mentioned, a lot of the younger generation, when they hear the term budget, they become flustered. They become confused, because it has such a heavy tone to it. Budget. It seems like, how do you, in your own terms, Lauren, begin to break it down? Because he said for him, to break it down into layman's term, he spoke about a plan, right? So to budget, it's just a plan to do with what you have. So you're able to say, okay, cool. With the little that I have, I'm able to set out 1, 2, 3. So he spoke about it as a plan. But for you, Lauren, if you're going to be breaking down the word budget, how would you somehow make it stick to the younger generation?
So in my context, I always think of the budget is really, the engine of what you're doing on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
What you're earning and then what you have to pay out. But it's also the
Yes.
engine, and it's your engine, and your investment goals is your destination. So if you're not fueling that engine properly, and you're not going to get to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
So when you treat your budget and you're investing separately, you're not going to get to where you want to go to. So it's really a strategic tool that you can use, not only to manage your daily life, but also your future goals.
Beautiful. Beautiful. There you guys have it from Lauren breaking down the term budget into layman terms as an engine, right? Also, Lauren, let's say I want to link, right, my investment goals to my budget. Why is it important for me to do so as supposedly having to utilize them as a separate entity?
I mean, I think the topic of budgeting is really misunderstood. Budgeting and investment goals is sometimes misunderstood because your budget and your investment goals actually have to be best friends, not distant cousins.
Okay.
You need to look at them as buddies. And really you need to also budget with wealth in mind, because you not only over time you want to budget not only for your spending, but you want to budget for your future self. And it's not only about cutting costs, but it's creating capacity in your financial range to create wealth. And it really calls for some mind shifts, right? So the first one would really is that you need to pay yourself first. If you put your investing as a line in your budget, it's not an afterthought. You're paying yourself first. So you're making yourself almost like an expense, but it's for your future self. And also automating your investments. So the same way you have to pay a debit order for whatever, your cell phone or your rent or whatever that is. You should also automate your investment allocations. And this means that you are then consistent because you're doing it every month. And it also removes any friction. So you know that it's coming off your bank account, and you can't you can't skip the debit order to pay your investment the same way you can't skip the debit order to pay your phone. So that also is a bit of a mindset shift. And also just, track your net worth, focus on the growth of your assets, not on a daily basis, but on a quarterly basis, on a yearly basis. It's not just about in your budget managing your expenses, but also just focusing on your growth assets. And I think that's important in the way we start thinking about budgeting and reaching your investment goals. Just thinking about those mindset shifts.
Yeah. So obviously, having learned is, investing, right? You invest for the future. And also, as you said, you could also budget for, yourself, but also for the future, right? To also build wealth. And speaking about, building wealth, Lauren, how can I now utilize budgeting for me to build wealth over time? I know that you shared a little bit on that, but can you really expand more just on that particular point?
So there are many ways in which to, utilize budgeting, and how do you decide how you're going to use your budget to approach this in wealth growth, right? You can either think of benchmarking your monthly investment, so either as a percentage of your income or as as a percentage of your income, whether you start with 5%, 10%, that would be your starting point. The other approach that you can take is using the tiered system. So if you think about, what is your minimum amount you would be able to put away. Say you had a very hectic month of expenses and you could only put away 100 Rand. And then you think about, okay, what is my stretch goal? So if I had more income in a month, what could be the most I could put away? But then you kind of target the middle, so that in a month when it's a lean month, you can still match that middle, and then in a month where you had more income, you're still matching that middle. So I think that's also an approach to take. And then of course, you should always consider that in your budget you have an allocation to an emergency fund, because what you don't want is that when you have an emergency that you're now taking away from your investment, because that's going to derail your goal. So consider in your budget to also have an allocation to an emergency fund.
All right, Lauren, so let's say I'm building a budget with investing in mind. What are some of the key categories or buckets I need to plan for me to specifically do that?
Again, I think I did mention, splitting your emergency fund and your investment fund, and then considering really what are your goals. So what is your short-term goals, whether that's traveling at the end of the year or making some kind of upgrade to your house, or if it's, to buy something specific, and then looking at what is your long-term goal. Is it a 5-year plan to buy a bigger house, to buy a car, or to educate yourself in the future? And then also it's always important to also have a part of your budget in terms of a donation or giving to charities, because that's also important. You don't only want to strengthen yourself, but you want to give back and strengthen your community as well.
Yeah. And Lauren, we're speaking to a lot of individuals, right, who are starting in their own careers. I know some people are established in their businesses, but let's say I have, an unpredictable income, right, an irregular income, or I've got debt. How should I now begin to, challenge my mind in investing on a monthly basis? How should I go about that when I have an unpredicted income?
I think it's one of the common mistakes we make, and not only people who have unpredictable income, but all of us. We almost like, waiting for that extra amount of money before we start investing. But spoiler alert, it doesn't always show up. So, thinking back to that tiered system again, if you just consider where you can be sort of in the middle, and that it's not going to be negative on your budget, but at least that you can be consistent. Because again, another mistake is that we overcommit. You think actually you need to invest, but then you're investing too much and then you need to withdraw because maybe you don't have an emergency fund, or you can't, you invested it, but actually you couldn't invest it this month, and then you end up withdrawing. So that's, one or two mistakes that even people who have a salary every month can also make. And it's important to keep in mind, especially when you don't have a regular income.
Yeah, and then also speaking about those mistakes, Lauren, in your experience and in your line of work, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen people try to fit investing into their budget?
Coming from an index manager, one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen people make is really ignoring fees and ignoring taxes. So when you're going to make an investment, really consider what is the cost of that investment. Not only the cost of maybe an ETF or a unit trust that you're going to invest in, but also if you're on a platform, what are the platform costs? Because every cost that you pay away is performance that you're paying away. So, by not looking at what the actual fee is for the underlying investment, you are taking away from your future wealth as well. And then, of course, the taxes. We have tax-free savings, which allows you to invest 36,000 Rand a year, and none of the returns on those investments are taxed. So that's a big saving in terms of tax. And think about the future, because where you're starting now, your tax might not be high, but in the future, as you gain wealth, as you increase, your career gets bigger, you can expect that your tax rate will be higher. So just keep the taxes in mind. And another mistake is really chasing trends, because if you invest based on some hype, you're not sticking to your goals. So really invest according to some trend that's happening in the world. And I think really one of the other mistakes that is missed is not reviewing regularly. So not only not reviewing your investment goal, but also not reviewing your budget. And you need to plan that you review, whether it's every quarter or every half year, every year. And it's things around, your goal might be different. So maybe you need to invest differently, or your budget is now different. So you can invest more, or you need to change things up in your budget. So it's just about reviewing regularly. That sometimes people don't do that. And then you're putting away 200 Rand a month, but your salary is now increased when you could have been putting away 500, 600. So it's just that review that is required as well.
Yeah. And I think also a lot that has been spoken on the platform is being disciplined and having responsibility. I think you also mentioned, some of the most common mistakes that you've seen is people investing because of trends. You're seeing this thing, or you're seeing people do things, you want to ultimately do that. All right. So Lauren, Siabulelo, who's part of Satrix, shared his incredible story of, in the beginning when he used to invest, right, to where he is at now. His investing is literally at a high level. Let's say I'm somebody now. How can you advise me on one thing that I should change to my budgeting, right, that will then help me become a consistent investor tomorrow?
For me, it's really one small thing, and it's small, and it's automating a small monthly investment. So even if it's just 100 rand, open your investment account. It's really not about how much you're investing, but it's about building the habit, and consistency builds confidence, and confidence builds wealth. So if you are consistent, you start with your 100 rand. I always say, start with a little, start with a lot, but just start. And that's important here.
Yeah. Lauren, thank you so much. Before you leave, any last things you want to share? Anything important that you just want to leave the viewers with?
Yeah, I mean, as just echoing what I said again, it's just important to start. Whether it's today or tomorrow, just put that money away. Make it, you really are paying your future self. And that's important.
I like that. Investing is all about, your future self, your future goal, building that wealth with what you do today. This was an amazing conversation with Lauren, speaking about how to build a budget with investment goals. Lauren, thank you so much for being right here on the platform. I wish you all the best of luck. Enjoy the weather that's out in Cape Town. Thank you so much, Lauren.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Karabo, for having me over again.
All right. Awesome. That's Lauren, all the way from Satrix. All right, awesome. That's it for today's episode. I was joined in studio by Mr. Brent Lindeque and Lauren, all the way from Satrix, speaking about budgeting and saving, but also utilizing investment goals, how to build a budget for that. Hope you guys found the lessons informative and engaging. Please don't forget to hit on social media and hashtag Satrix Money School Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Karabo. See you guys next time. Peace.